Hello and welcome back to another episode of Inside Mentors' Minds, where we dive deep into epic humans to find out where they got themselves to where they are today and the tricks and tips that they have to share with us. Today, we have a special guest on, Nathaniel. Thank you for coming on, brother.
Thanks for inviting me to be part of your program, man.
Awesome, man. This is exciting. So I found you through social media, and I guess the way that what drew me is I love that you do yoga for modern men. Do you want to just go into that for us and the viewers that are viewing you for the first time? Do you want to explain that for us?
So I've been based in Bangkok for 7 or 8 years now, and personally, I've been practicing yoga for over 10 years and teaching for about 8 or 9 years. And I guess I've been fortunate in the time that I've lived in Bangkok that I've developed a reputation and a bit of a network, I guess, of guys who live in the city here, firstly, who are interested in things such as martial arts or powerlifting or just strength and conditioning, calisthenics, or athletes, or even a lot of guys who are more like high profile executives, CEOs. Some of my clients work at the embassies here. Just guys from all walks of life, of all different ages, I would say, like between, I don't know how young we can start because I teach kids yoga too, but if you consider a man at the age of 15 or 18, whatever, right up until 60 or 70, I've worked with all different guys in the time that I've been living here. And I guess I started to notice probably like 5 years ago or so that there's a lot of men out there who are curious about yoga and the benefits it has to offer. They see the value in it. They're prepared to commit a little bit of time to it, and they honestly want and believe that it can help them, but they're probably not the type of guys who are prepared to go to a yoga studio class or go to a yoga retreat, or they don't want to be taught in Sanskrit language, or, they don't want a lot of the sort of the philosophy and the dogma that goes along with it, which is totally understandable. So I guess about 5 or 6 years ago, I started to host workshops and sessions here, just like yoga for men, I guess. And then I more and more started to see like, well, they're not just men, they're men who are open to like, health optimization and becoming their greatest version, self-development. They're curious about breath work. They're curious about meditation. They don't just want to go balls to the wall with their training all the time. They want to implement proper recovery practices. They want to improve their flexibility, mobility, their movement. They want to feel good in their body, in their mind, and in their energy. And this is how I came across the concept of yoga for modern men.
Man, that's so cool. It's so important to kind of in my research and what I'm developing within myself to have like a niche down space for men. So yeah, like, do you want to just talk to us and the viewers? How did you get into yoga? What was there's usually like a turning point or maybe a lower moment that got you onto yoga in this journey?
Yeah, that's a cool question. So when I was 23, I guess it started before that. I guess when I was like 16 until 21, I was like in the punk rock and heavy metal music scene in Australia where I grew up, and I was probably like following more unhealthy and negative type of lifestyle habits than positive.
Parkway Drive?
Yeah, my old band actually supported them twice, and I'm very good friends with the drummer's brother. So he actually came to visit me in Bangkok. His name's Jed, and the drummer in Parkway Drive's name's Ben. So Jed came to see me in Bangkok for a couple of weeks, like 4 or 5 years ago, and I taught him some yoga and stuff.
Oh, cool.
It was good to reconnect. Yeah, I'm still sort of loosely connected to that scene in Australia, but it can be kind of a negative or unhealthy type of scene. And I guess when I was like 21, I decided, okay, I'm just going to save up my money and leave Australia, sell all my possessions and travel around the world. And after about 6 months or so, when I was 23, I decided I'd try out living in Canada, in Vancouver. And I was just going to sort of see what I could do for work. I was quite interested in snowboarding then, actually, and I
Yeah.
thought I'd end up at a ski resort, but I was going to do like a short course in Vancouver for a couple of months. And I applied for a job as like the shift supervisor at the largest yoga studio in Canada, which has like over 800 guests go to classes there a day.
What's it called
800 guests.
again?
It's called Y Yoga.
Yeah, I went there. I went there.
Right.
Yeah.
There's about 7 or 8 locations in the country. So do you remember which one you would have gone to?
Yeah, the exact one you're talking about.
So there's like 7 or 8 that are all called Y Yoga, and the one like biggest one is in downtown. So I actually worked there. So,
I had a yoga class there.
Oh, perfect. So it was awesome. It was an inspiring, incredible community to be a part of. And I went to the job interview and I'm like, oh, look, I've never done yoga before, but I like customer service and I'm curious about yoga, and I like helping people. And that was pretty much it. And they gave me the job as the shift supervisor, and that was cool. So I got to practice yoga every day for a year for free.
What year was this in, Nathaniel?
2011.
Okay. I did volunteer there. I volunteered there once.
Really? When was that? Which year?
2015.
Right. So yeah, I have no idea how it sort of progressed or continued, or what it was like when
it was a really great studio.
Awesome. Yeah, it was such a high standard, and I still feel like, having done yoga teacher training in Thailand and Bali, and lived in and trained in India and stuff like this, like the standard in Vancouver in Canada is like some of the best in the world for yoga. People really value and prioritize like a lot of what they get out of yoga. So yeah, that's how I got started.
Oh, that's so cool, man. I love that. Yeah, you got your foot in the door in Vancouver. That studio is a really great studio. To be honest, I only volunteered like a week or something, and then I was like, this isn't gonna work with my schedule, so I just ended up buying the pass instead. But it's a really great studio.
So how long did you in Vancouver for?
14 months.
Oh wow!
Do you know Kelowna?
You're from there?
Yeah, I'm from Kelowna.
Right. Okay. I've never been to Kelowna actually. I've just been helping an online client who's in Nelson. That's right near there, isn't it? As well.
It's a beautiful place.
When I lived there, I didn't really travel around much because it's so expensive to fly around the country. And Vancouver and Vancouver Island and that area is just awesome enough in itself, and the ski resorts nearby. So I was pretty content when I lived there for the year just to hang out and enjoy being based in Vancouver.
That's awesome. Where'd you live in Van?
So I lived for 1 month in the West End, and then for 11 months I lived in East Hastings.
Oh, really?
The poorest postcode in and it was weird because I actually lived in like a hotel, and this hotel was sort of for like travelers and international students and whatnot. And it was basically like on the East Hastings Road, I guess. And on one side was like the Gastown area, which was like the gentrified yuppie area. And then on the other side was like East Hastings Road with all like the sort of the junkies, I guess. And
yes,
I was pretty weird. I remember one time, funny memory, a lot of funny memories there. But one time I walked out of the hotel and I was drinking a beer, and the police spotted me and they're like, hey, you can't be drinking on the street. And I'm like, look over there, there's someone like heroin in the street. And he's like, don't worry about what's going on up there, just pour the beer out.
so true.
Canada.
That's so cool. So I'm curious, why did you choose Canada as your place to go to? Because my first time I chose Australia.
Well, yeah, as you can probably guess, like part of the reason is that we're part of the Commonwealth and our countries make it easy for younger people to live and work in the country with like, I remember I was in Egypt at the time that I decided to go there, and I was talking to my family, and they're like, "Hey, we want to sort of meet up for Christmas. Where are you planning to be December?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm going to go to the States." And my parents really wanted to go to Canada, and so they're like, "Oh, how about we meet in Canada for Christmas?" And my auntie and her partner, who he's passed away, but like my parents, my brother, my brother's ex-wife, my auntie and her partner all came over, and we met up in Canada. And I'd already decided, having been in Egypt, and just like, I'm going to apply for a working visa for Vancouver. I'd already told my family, like, I'll spend a month with you guys there. Then after that, I'm going to live in Canada for a year and see what happens with that. So, yeah.
So the place you stayed, does it has a bar underneath it, right? Is that correct?
Yep.
So I know the exact place, which is not too far of a walk from the yoga studio, right? It's a
Yep.
like,
so the place called the no, not the Camby, Cam, what was it called? Starts with a C.
Is it Canby?
Uh, no, it's not that. The Columbia. I can't. I'll have to find out. But yeah, it did have a bar underneath it at the ground, like under the ground floor.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. Some nights I'd be like, party there, then just walk back upstairs and go to bed.
Sure. So what was that like living in that style? Well, because I don't know about you, but I'm almost hearing something similar. Like through your evolution, did you have like a party side of you, and then this like depth to you where you were heading towards spirituality, and then they were almost sometimes conflicting? Because I can imagine being in that party scene and then taking your yoga mat in the morning and doing like yoga poses and meditation and all that.
Bro, it's like you've just sort of seen a snapshot of my past. That's said perfectly. Like, that was exactly what happened. And I guess, like, I've always been pretty good at committing to things when I commit to them. And when I started with yoga, I'm like, okay, this is like something I got to stick to. And I might be out at, I was only 23, 24 then. I might be out at 3 or 4 a.m. partying, and then I'd still be on the yoga mat in the studio at 9 or 10 a.m. ready for hot yoga and sweating it all out. And I guess, like, that's an interesting part of my evolution, in that I started, I guess, partying and stuff like that when I was like 14 years old in Australia, skipping school to smoke weed and get drunk and whatnot. And it's always, and it is still to an extent, part of my life. And I'm about to start, like, now I just did 30 days without alcohol, and I'm about to do another 50-day challenge with some of my friends where I won't be partying. So I do still like that sort of way of life. But I would definitely say that back then I had less balance, and I would party more, and I would interfere with my healthy and positive lifestyle habits that were being newly created more. And now I'm really comfortable with sort of allocating my time and my and choosing, like, okay, so I'm going to go away with my friends, have a party weekend, and I'm taking 3 or 4 days off my training, but I'll still, like, no matter what, for me, a non-negotiable is my morning routine, which includes a little bit of yoga, a solid amount of breath work, and a solid amount of meditation. And it takes 40 minutes. And no matter what happened the night before, I'll still do that. I'd never like go so hard that I'd lose myself and not be able to get through that. But definitely yoga, meditation, breath work has really helped me to create more balance and really value, like, the positive and healthy lifestyle habits to the extent that they should take priority in my life.
Man, I love that. I love that you're dedicated to that. The feel goods, the natural feel goods.
Exactly.
So tell me, I'm curious if you experienced this at the beginning of your yoga, because I maybe just a bit earlier started doing yoga, but like when I first started, there was such a stigma around, like, especially for guys, like, to do yoga. And this was my selling point. This was my exact selling point to get out of like, you're gay, yoga's gay, why are you doing that? You're a pussy. Like all these terminologies was, am I gay to be in a room with women that are basically in their underwear? That's gay. But like the challenge was, go ahead.
Yeah, so like I think again I was really lucky that I started in Vancouver, and to be honest, there were a number of guys in the community who were gay, I guess. But for me, it was fantastic at that age being like a straight guy in that community. And firstly, like I never felt like a sense of you know, inferiority towards other men or anything, because like it was promoted so positively in that community, and there were guys from all walks of life who were either teachers or students who were interested in hiking or calisthenics or strength and conditioning type stuff or snowboarding or whatever. There were men from all walks of life in Vancouver interested in yoga, and there was never anything critical towards the men in the community. I guess more I noticed it when I came out to Southeast Asia. And I think I was lucky that the foundations for me of starting yoga had influenced me so strongly that I didn't give a shit what people thought or said towards me, because I knew how it made me feel, how it made me function, and how it benefited my life. And I could handle the jokes and the criticism coming from other guys when they threw it at me. And I think the funny and interesting and rewarding thing for me has been seeing friends and family members of mine who laughed or criticized or whatever. Yeah, like, and then a few years later, they're like, hey, yeah, like maybe I'll give it a chance. And I'm like, yeah, I thought you'd say that one day.
Yeah. One of the things I say to some of the people that are like kind of close to me. So clearly, in my journey, I was around the wrong community and friend group clearly at the beginning. So I just didn't tell people I did it. I just went, and I'd go to like
Right. Where was that?
in Kelowna.
Right. Yeah. I guess a smaller country town. It's going to be
smaller town, smaller mentality. I think you can imagine potentially, like, think about you at your age when you were with your heavy metal friends, and you told them like, yeah, I'm about to go to yoga. Like, what kind of comments? I was a crazy partier, bro, like addicted to cocaine and alcohol. But that side of myself, balance, like what I say, some balance, but like I did yoga to really help me through all that. So it was the first first entry point to like, oh, I can change my life type of stuff. And
man, it's a fantastic entry point for any guys who have these sort of less healthy lifestyle habits, because yoga doesn't ask a big commitment of you to get started and to see some benefits, say, compared to like, I want to be a bodybuilder. You know, if you want to be a bodybuilder, you're going to have to train, you know, seriously and committedly every day. What's your diet? You can't, you know, you've really got to commit 100%. But with yoga, you give a small commitment and it gives a lot back. And that's why it's great. Or one of the things that
I mean, I just want to echo what you said too, man. I completely agree. I think too, it's a really good entry to like starting to feel into your body. So something that was happening to me in the process is like I was actually tuning into myself for the first time, which felt so good. At the same time, felt bad because I realized what I was doing to myself. So I was in like this constant contradiction, because I'm like tuning into myself, but like I would go after a night out too, get right into the hot yoga room. Sometimes just go with my mom, and that was something my mom and I could go do together. When I say I was get called those names, like it didn't stop. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Like the moment you come in the room with me, I know you're gonna want to do it too, and that's why I laugh when you say that, because something I would say to people is like, as the world progressed, I'm gonna become less and less weird.
Exactly. Yeah. I kind of knew that too. Like in Vancouver, I could see, and I remember hearing that Vancouver had more yoga studios per head of the population out of all cities in North America.
Yep.
And I kind of knew that like Vancouver seemed to be like 10 or 15 years ahead many other countries and cities in terms of their level of embracing yoga. But yeah, I think like, I guess this wasn't exactly what you were saying, but just going on about you saying that you're going there with your mom sometimes in the morning and stuff like this. Like what I say to a lot of guys who do get started with yoga coming from like a less healthy sort of place is like, don't even worry about trying to cut out your negative lifestyle habits in the start. Like don't try to do that because it may feel like you're forcing yourself or changing yourself too quickly and in an uncomfortable and unnatural way. All I say is just make a small commitment, something you think you can sort of stick to, of how regularly you're going to show up for your yoga practice, either in the studio or on your own, preferably with the help of a teacher who can help you to stay committed when you have a little bit of doubt or you're lacking your commitment. And what you'll see for every guy who I've worked with is that eventually you can just see clearly yourself how what you're doing outside of your practice is affecting you negatively, and you'll come to the point where you make more of a conscious choice about what you're prepared to allow to continue and what you're going to cut out then. But like don't try to force it too quickly, and you'll just see like yoga is very considerate of the person that you are before you start yoga. And I can really humanize yoga as like a friend who can help people who want to optimize their health and progress with their evolution, their spiritual evolution. So yeah.
Man, that is so beautiful. And I just want to acknowledge you and thank you for helping men in this journey, dude. Like, oh man, we need some more soul brothers out there.
Damn right.
Representing for the heart. I appreciate it. And for men and connecting with men. It's something that I honor and feel really grateful for when I see. It really shows depth of evolution. Because so often we're led to believe we gotta cut each other down, we gotta pull each other down, gotta compete, all this stuff. And not that these mentalities don't help us grow, but like I think that there's another way to do it. And I love that you're in that space of yourself and helping men through that. Before we get a little deeper into your work, I got a question. I'm so curious. What was your experience like in India? And I saw that you trained with a yoga guru too as well. Do you want to talk about your experience there?
Yeah, so I've just been to India once, and I was really fortunate to go at the time that I went. At the time that I went, I had a good Ashtanga yoga teacher here in Bangkok from England, who he had studied in India for like almost 12 years on and off with our guru at the time, Master B.N.S. Iyengar, who was a direct student of Krishnamacharya, who's known as like one of the Ashtanga masters. And my teacher at the time, Joe, decided to arrange like a trip to India for his students here in Bangkok. And we got to do like a special month of training with Master B.N.S. Iyengar, where he spent time going over the asana, the physical practice, the pranayama, which is the breathing exercises for anyone who doesn't know, and the meditation practices, as well as talking to us and teaching us more about like the philosophy and history of yoga. And Master B.N.S. Iyengar is actually still alive and still teaching today. And at the time he was in his 90s, 93 or 94, so he must be close to 100 now, and still teaching yoga, and had been for more than 60 years. So I had a lot of takeaways from the experience. And one was that like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like, I guess yoga can help you to be kind of healthy and positive and mobile and still keep teaching and have sort of a long and enjoyable and positive career. And then also Um, I guess one of the takeaways I had at the time, which helped to influence me to become who I am today, 7 years later, was that like I am not an old Indian man living in a village in India teaching yoga, and so I could sort of take from the experience a lot of like what could help me personally, but what I wanted to adapt into the way that I wanted to evolve as a teacher and to be able to help people, because a lot of what he taught was not even relevant to me. So I'm like, I'm not just going to, I'm going to honor and appreciate this history and this sort of person and this man who has really walked the walk and talked the talk for all of these years. But that's not me. I'm going to take from this what I can, respect and honor that, and then regurgitate and recreate what I want to teach in a way that's more applicable to the people who I'm working with. So I'm not going to like just blindly follow the tradition for the sake of it, but I will be respectful and appreciative of what I've taken them from that experience. And it was life-changing and transformative in many, many ways.
That's so special, man. That's such an honor that you got to be around someone like that. I'm curious. So what, someone that's been in the industry, and so I've also experienced yoga too. What in particular where you're like, this isn't going to resonate with me, or I can't apply this in my life or in my teaching? What particularly?
I think like in the older Indian tradition, it's very much focused around like the guru knowing everything and the student or disciple knowing nothing. And part of this can be helpful for the way that the teacher or guru can help to remove doubts and help the student to overcome fears and anxieties and programmed improper ways of relating to themselves and reality. But part of the way that like the older Indian yogic way of teaching sort of like tries to mold a student into just following and trusting that the guru is not very empowering. And I sort of disagreed with, and still do disagree with some of that, because it doesn't really allow for the student to develop their own sense of confidence that well. It kind of keeps them always following and trusting their guru to the extent that they might not develop that confidence in themselves. So that's probably the main thing. And then also, I don't really see the need to learn or use the Sanskrit language anymore. I learned a lot of it, or a large extent of it, for the purposes of how it relates to the yoga, and I just don't think it really adds any value to the practitioner. So I think like the most important thing for me is really focusing on the true meaning of yoga, which is union or unity or harmony in the body, mind, and energy, and using yoga and practicing and following yoga as a way to create that state within your body, your mind, and your energy for the purpose of refining and improving and evolving your relationship to yourself. And that will help to positively influence the way that you relate to other people, and it will help to positively improve and enhance the relationships you have with others, and therefore that will improve your quality of life. So that's really the most important part of yoga. And if people are prepared to acknowledge and follow that, then I think that that's enough.
Wow. Just like I found out with my yoga, it was way beyond the mat.
Exactly.
Do you want to maybe dive into that?
Yeah, like I guess like I see that if your yoga practice helps you to start to make more positive choices with what you do in your life and how you feel in your life and how you think, the action that you take, the way that you're able to talk and listen to others, the way that you're able to sort of be a friend, be a spiritual friend to yourself and to the world, then that's an indication that your yoga is benefiting you. And we're not going for perfection, and we're not going to blindly follow what was done hundreds or thousands of years by others. We're going for how we can embrace the wisdom of this ancient healing tradition, and this ancient tradition which has helped people for thousands of years to evolve their consciousness. If you're sort of able to relate to that in a way that is respectful and appreciative and positive, then you're free to you're free to create your own path. And I sort of like something that doesn't come from yoga or doesn't come from India, but comes from someone like Bruce Lee, who's like a Chinese martial artist. And I think sometimes like some of the Chinese wisdom, such as that of like Lao Tzu or Confucius, or, you know, even like I've studied a little bit of like Qigong. I've had a very good Qigong teacher, and like Shaolin Kung Fu and things like this. One quote I really like from Bruce Lee: adapt what is useful, reject what is not, and add what is uniquely your own. And I think that type of message is what is sometimes missing from yoga, from the guru-student relationship or way of teaching, which can also have its benefits. I'm not fully rejecting it or criticizing it. I think having a teacher can be helpful, but more like having a spiritual friend who can help you to become your greatest version and help you to continue evolving into the person that you're striving to become. That type of thing is preferable for most Western modern people. Or not, let me get rid of the word Western, most international modern people.
Right. Wow. I guess this is where the word modern came in for you.
Yeah, like the modern man is someone, or the modern person, even for any women listen, but the modern person is someone who is interested in evolution, is interested in understanding and evolving their consciousness, is interested in health optimization, is interested in movement, is interested in, self-development, is interested in being a citizen of the world, is interested in, anything else. Like for me, I'm really interested in the martial arts community. That's a big part of who I am and what I'm involved in here in Thailand and globally. And that's just one part of being a modern man for me. And I think that a lot of people can relate to that. Obviously, the UFC is huge around the world. In Thailand, Muay Thai and martial arts is huge. That's just one area of reality. If you're also interested in like gymnastics, calisthenics, movement, culture, if you're interested in any type of athletics, be it soccer, football, baseball, basketball, whatever, like that, you can also be a modern man who has a passing interest or some level of interested in anything like that, and then also be into like yoga and health optimization and spiritual evolution.
I love it, man. You pretty much covered all of it. You got it pretty much all covered. That's so fascinating. So you said you're into martial arts, and you said something about kung fu, like Shaolin kung fu. Have you been to? I don't know. Do they let people in the Shaolin temple, or are you trained under Shaolin monks, or how does that work?
I have not trained Shaolin Kung Fu in China. I've trained Qigong and a little bit of that here in Thailand with a very internationally respected and famous Qigong teacher who has been trained in China by Shaolin Kung Fu masters, and her name is Marissa, and she runs an online platform with thousands of members called Yochi, which is kind of like using some inspiration from yoga as well as Qigong. And then from starting to learn with her, I then bought a couple of online Shaolin Kung Fu courses to learn a little bit more, because I was aware, okay, I've just had a female teacher. I want to learn a few courses online from male teachers too, and sort of start to see a little bit more of how this whole system and way of teaching can relate to what else I'm doing and everything else like that. So I'm very grateful for the entry point I had from my wonderful teacher, Marissa.
That's so beautiful. So do you want to just dive into your experience with Qigong and explain Qigong for anyone that doesn't know what this is?
Yeah, like I'll relate it to yoga and other types of movement. I know it's not as common like as yoga, and I think one of the reasons is Qigong is a lot more focused on energy movement rather than changing the physical body or working the physical body. So the way that would be similar to something like yoga is in yoga, like in like the sort of second stage after the asana, the physical stuff, we go more into the pranayama, and prana means life force control, and the word chi is also almost the same, or probably the same as the word prana. So straight away with Qigong, when you start, you're just focusing on the ways of optimizing the life force energy. So when you start to do Qigong, I think for people who just get into it with no prior energy movement or spiritual or movement practice, maybe it might seem a bit too abstract, and there's not maybe enough form and technique to it. It could be hard for you to commit to it or stick to it, because you might sort of feel like, what do I actually do? I know I'm breathing and moving a little bit, but it's not as sort of structured and disciplined as like a lot of Western practitioners might be comfortable with. So I actually noticed, like for Qigong, a lot of older people are more drawn to it because it's easier on their bodies and they can feel more like they're doing something while they're not doing that much. So for me personally, I will use some of the Qigong practices. And I think, like, say, for something that like people who have not any idea what Qigong is, like one of the good ways that they could see something that's like similar to Qigong might be like Wim Hof, when he's doing something like his hoo ha hoo ha, like breathing and moving like in a horse stance or something like that. That's kind of like a Qigong thing. So it's kind of like you can't really maybe teach the position, but you might be able to teach the movement and the breathing and what you do with your body at the same time. And part of the goal is just for optimizing your chi, moving your chi and being a chi or your life force energy.
That's so cool. It's something that I've as I deepen my practices and deepen my peace. It's the type of movement that I'm welcoming in a little bit more into my life, into my journey, because that mind body connection, in that, because I come from like gym world, right, where I'm developing like almost like a hard mentality. So then to supplement the yin side of that connection with my body is really nice. And I think for people that are beginning to meditate too, I think it's helpful, a good entry point to meditation.
It can be really helpful for that, because like you're in a very calm meditative state, but you're still sort of doing something and moving. Also, I'm going to send you some video lessons from my teacher, Marissa, and you'll be able to practice them. Yeah, they're really cool. She's got some great routines that are awesome for the morning, or the evening. Just like, you want to do something, but you've already trained for the day or whatever. This is perfect. And I think more and more people will open up to it over time now that yoga's become kind of more normal and mainstream as well. And I guess like, yeah, for myself, I'm exactly the same. And I really believe and follow the idea of like, if we want to live in a state of balance and joy and harmony and strength, then we should focus on our training to greater or lesser extents on everything from the most yin practice of meditation, breath work, qigong, through yoga, through cardio and movement and play and sports and having fun, to stronger stuff like gymnastics and calisthenics and, you know, powerlifting and all of that too. And we can be a little bit free in the way that we find that level of balance for ourselves. It can depend on who we are and who we're striving to be and become, but there needs to be some level of balance. And I see this time and time again with my clients. If we're just too much yang and too strong and no softness, no recovery, no peace, no balance, we're going to feel out of balance and we're going to start to have problems show up in our mind, body, or energy. And if we're too soft and we're too weak, and we're too easy on ourselves and we don't push and challenge ourselves, then we're also going to have difficulties too. So we need to find a healthy balance, moving between the two extremes and playing in the middle.
Yeah, which is where the cold and ice, or the ice bath and the hot bath, right? In Nirvana.
Again, one of my favorite things. Yeah.
Do you have a good facility out there, kind of like Nirvana?
So that's good question. I said at the start of the call, we've been in a 2-month lockdown here in Bangkok, and my sauna and cold pool place is actually being closed at the moment.
Oh man. Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, like I'm a very positive person, but I'd said time and time again to many people, the two places I miss the most right now, the park and my sauna cold pool place. And that is my favorite place to hang out here in Bangkok.
Cool.
And I've been going like 6 or 7 years since I found out about it, 2 to 3 times, sometimes 4 times a week. Every 2 or 3 days I go there. I spend a few hours sitting with my friends or just random guys who I know who go there, you know, do 4 or 5 rounds in the sauna. It's the hottest sauna I've ever come across, the one that I go to. The cold pool, not perfect. I've definitely been in better cold pools, but it's good. But the sauna itself is the best hot sauna. The community there is awesome. That's called Silom Sauna. So anyone who's watching who comes to Bangkok, hopefully it'll be open again soon, I recommend checking out Silom Sauna for an awesome community of international guys. There's a lot of we get everyone there from cryptocurrency investors to online poker players to CEOs to athletes to Muay Thai champions to there's Japanese businessmen, there's Korean guys who own sex massage places in the city, there's Thai men who are the top level policemen, there's Thai mafia who go there, and everyone in between. It's just a spot for men to hang out and get your recovery in and use the sauna and the cold pool. So yes, I love that and I miss it and I can't wait till it's open again.
Wow. That place sounds awesome. Is it just specialized in is it just a recovery? They don't have a gym?
They have a gym there too. So if you want to do your training, you can. For me personally, I just go there for my relaxation and recovery, but some of my friends use the gym as well. The gym's okay. It's just kind of an old ghetto Thai style gym. Like if you want to do some rows and bench press and military press and some lat pull downs and stuff like that and get a bit of core work in, you can do that, you know.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So for anyone listening, Nathaniel and I, we both share interest and go to a gym called Nirvana Strength. It's a beautiful facility. Nathaniel, what was your experience like? When did you go there? How did you come across of it?
So if you're watching or anyone who knows them is watching, shout out to Ian and Johnson. And thank you guys for being awesome. I still chat to Ian occasionally online, and he's a wonderful guy, wonderful head coach. I also did a few months of online coaching with Devin Kelly recently,
Nice.
who teaches and trains there at Nirvana. So I was there for the first time back in, I think it was 2019 or even 18, probably 2019 when Nirvana opened up, and training there for close to a month when I was in Bali. That was fantastic. At the time, I was probably newer getting into like the whole calisthenics and gymnastics and movement communities, although I'd been doing like some sort of strength training for a few years. My experience there really gave me a little bit more inspiration and direction in terms of how I could continue to evolve my strength type of training. And leaving there, I feel like it inspired me for, I guess that community still inspires me, but for like until I could sort of find the right coaches and the right sort of way of training here, that helped to motivate and inspire and teach me a lot. And I'll definitely go to the Nirvana Strength location and be happy to be part of that community again when I'm back in Bali again. Unfortunately, I haven't been to Bali again yet, and I miss it. I love Bali, so I can't wait to get back to Bali again.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, the guys have created something special there. And just like I'm sure you experienced in your sauna where you are in Thailand, but also there's some epic humans that come through the saunas in Nirvana and some great conversations as well. When you were there, did you take all the classes then?
Yeah, I did a lot of the different classes with Ian Johnson and the girl Beverly. I think she was their old coach, an Indonesian girl who used to work there. So yeah, I did all the different types of flexibility, mobility, strength, stability, handstand classes, and yeah, it was awesome. I was doing one or two classes every day that I was there, and
Yep.
we don't really have a facility like that in Thailand on the same sort of level or scope. Like we've got a few sort of smaller movement or calisthenics or gymnastic gyms here that are, I guess, geared towards that. But the way that like that community attracts people who are all into the same thing is something special.
For sure. That's awesome. And so Devin Kelly has also been a big inspiration in my fitness journey too. I was trying to get this guy to coach me, but he's been too busy. I didn't have an opening spot, man. Like he hasn't had a spot. He's like, he turned me down actually. And I was like, man, I really want to learn from you, but timing wasn't right. So that's all right. At some point, I still got him on my radar. If you don't mind me asking, pardon me?
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
what
sorry, go ahead.
what are you guys training, if you don't mind me asking?
Devin helped me last year for a few months with I wanted to follow his one arm chin up and handstand push up program.
Okay.
And yeah, he was really helpful and committed and just cool coach to work with, and he gave me a really good starting point with the online coaching. And for that, and I guess the only reason, or one of the main reasons I decided to stop, was just because I was fortunate to meet the Thai national champion in calisthenics here in Thailand, and he's now been my coach for the past 6 months. So he's been helping me to progress my calisthenics a bit more. But there was nothing wrong with what Devin was doing.
Sure.
It was just that I had an opportunity with someone here who I wanted to work with. But I definitely work with Devin again in the future, and I'd highly recommend him to anyone who's lucky enough to find an opening in his schedule.
A good bad problem, man. A good bad problem.
Yeah.
I've asked him twice now too, and he's like, "Sorry, man, I just don't have it." So it's all good.
Just ask him again. Oh, come on, you helped Nathaniel. Why don't you help me, man?
Yeah. Exactly. No, that's really cool. So yeah, that's awesome that you've been able to train that part of yourself. I've actually never been to Bangkok before. Is it like is it near the ocean or is it a city?
Have you been to Thailand at all?
You know what? I haven't been to Thailand either. That's the place I haven't been to.
All right. So Bangkok is the biggest city in Thailand by a long shot. Like the unofficial population is above 13 million people. Um, it's about 2 hours from the nearest beach, which would be like called Bang Sen, but the nearest sort of beach town, which is known to a lot of foreigners, is called Pattaya or Pattaya. I was actually there on the weekend. I've got a good friend who lives there, so I go down there probably once a month. So Bangkok is, you know, a massive, overcrowded city that doesn't really have the level of infrastructure it needs to accommodate the number of people living here. It has drawn people from all over the world and all over the country. There's probably like one of the hugest divides in wealth in terms of the poor to the super rich people that you can find in any international city. At one point a few years ago, for a number of years, it was consistently ranked the world's most visited city because it's such a cool city for travelers to come to get like a taste of all different things from all around the world. I actually first came here when I was traveling around the world in 2010 for a few weeks I spent in Thailand, and I fell in love with it. I sort of knew I would come back here at some point. And then soon after I left Canada and Vancouver, or probably like a year and a half after that, I kept sort of coming to Bangkok and leaving and traveling around Asia and going to Bali, going to Vietnam, going to Laos. I lived in Laos, which is like one of the top 10 poorest countries in the world. I lived there for 9 months. And then I kept coming to Bangkok and feeling like, oh, wow, I'm back home again. And then I'd leave and I'd feel like I was leaving home until I finally thought, well, Bangkok feels like my home. I'm gonna live there. So I'd recommend anyone to come to Bangkok to check it out. If you're like not at all a city person, give it a week maximum. Don't just give it 2 or 3 days if you have a bit more time, because like it can be too overwhelming to get it. But if you're here for a week, I feel like you can get enough of a taste of it that you can benefit from getting to know a little bit of the lay of the city and getting around, trying a heap of the awesome food, meeting the Thai people, going to a lot of the different sort of places, the cultural sites. Depends what you want. There's sort of like a party scene here as well. There's all sorts of stuff for everyone. So I definitely love and appreciate Bangkok and recommend that people would come. Even, yeah, some of my friends from Bali, I'll give another shout out to Dom, who does, Dom and Nettie, who does Origins Nutrition, and Nettie, who does her mobility. They came and hung out in Bangkok for a week, and we went and ate like our beef buffets, and they couldn't get over like some of the places I took them to that we just got to eat high quality beef for a cheap price, and you know they loved it. So for whoever you are, if you come to Bangkok, you check it out, you'll appreciate it for what it is if you give it enough of a chance that you don't feel overwhelmed by the size of it.
Sure. I mean, I think that's what I did India incorrectly with. You want to go there with someone that knows where to take you, what to do. Then you're gonna get the real experience. When you're trying to find these things in these crazy places, it is tough. You gotta give it some time. So if I come, I'll definitely hit you up.
For sure, man. For anyone who wants to come to Bangkok, I'll always try to help with recommendations on accommodation and, you know, where to eat, where to go, and meet up with me so I can show you a few places too. And then I think you can really get a good taste of what Bangkok has to offer for if you want to come back here again or move here or something like that.
So why there over Bali?
Why here for what, sorry?
Why did you pick Thailand or Bangkok over Bali?
So at the time, that's kind of interesting you say over Bali, because it was actually a consideration between probably Bangkok, Bali, and Chiang Mai in northern Thailand, which
Right.
is the second biggest city in the country, but it's very small in comparison to Bangkok, about 1 million people or so. And I guess like this was back in 2013 when I moved here. Um, Firstly, Bangkok felt more like home than the other ones, and I had a couple of friends here. Uh, but I would say like the main overarching reason that I ended up choosing Bangkok was that I saw more potential for like me to be able to grow and develop myself and integrate myself in an international community as an international person who at the time was just kind of interested in sharing yoga and also being part of like an international community where I could sort of socialize and network and meet a lot of people of all different walks of life. Um, yeah, so it felt like home, and it felt like I wanted to be a small fish in a big pond rather than a bigger fish in a smaller pond.
Makes sense. That makes sense. That's cool.
Yeah,
I'm always interested to know. I just I kind of landed here unexpectedly, so I know
right.
that I'm a fresh digital nomad. So I know that there's a couple hot spots around the world, and that's one of them as well. Chiang Mai, I heard of Tulum, someplace in
Thing my,
Portugal as well.
but yeah, I would probably not recommend living in Chiang Mai to many people. Like, I love it. I've been there over 30 times. Personally, I wouldn't live there probably ever, because it feels overall it becomes a little bit too small. Um, and I don't necessarily mind small places. Like, I like Phuket, which is also a bit smaller, and Bali is smaller than Bangkok, sort of thing. But for me personally, I like to be near the beach if I'm going to be somewhere in nature. If you love the mountains and you want to be in the mountains, Chiang Mai could be okay. But overall, for me, like after you're there for a while, it starts to feel a little bit small, and it's not really a big city, it's a big town. But it's still awesome, and I'd recommend checking it out or spending even a short period of time there. I also wouldn't necessarily recommend people to live in Bangkok unless you specifically love cities. But I'd recommend coming here and checking it out for yourself. Just depends what you want.
Sure, sure. I mean, we all got different tastes and flavors of what we like, right? So it's definitely worth checking
Yeah,
out. So before we come to my, I kind of do this question round with
yeah.
all my guests on. Is there anything on your heart that you want to share that you haven't been able to express about today?
No, not at all. I came to this conversation with an open mind, and I'm really impressed by and grateful for your ability to listen and ask relevant questions. So yeah, thanks. That's awesome. And nothing I need to say or get across. Just maybe if anyone is listening and you've enjoyed the conversation, hit me up, let me know, and let's connect. That's about all.
Amazing, brother. I appreciate all the work you're doing to support modern men. I think it's powerful work, and hopefully in our future we see more of it, and it's welcomed more, not as seen as a weakness but a strength. I always
Thank you
like
so much.
I always like us supporting each other. You know, it's like we're powerful together. You know, we're so much
Damn
stronger.
right. There are modern heterosexual men who don't care if you think we're gay or whatever, and don't have a gay guys either, like, but we just want to do and benefit from yoga and, focus on self-development and health optimization and enjoying life, really. And that's it.
That's it, brother. That's it. Just enjoying the life, my man. That's awesome. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just ask you a series of questions and then
Yep.
answer them as you please. So to start out, on your phone, besides the basic apps like Instagram, YouTube, and what have you, what's your favorite app?
Um, which app would I say? let me, can I slide up and check?
Yeah, what's on my phone?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think what I use a lot. I use an app. This is one that I'll tell for anyone who comes to Thailand, which could be of interest.
Oh, that's
Can you
cool.
still see, or has my
No,
video gone off?
we can't see you.
Okay, I'll come back. I'll just think of two that I'm going to use. Yeah, so for anyone who comes to, oh, we're back again.
Now you're back.
Yeah, for anyone who comes to Thailand, I'd say one app I like to use a lot is called Eat to Go. That's EATIGO. And the reason this app is awesome is it's an app where you can book restaurants and 5-star hotel buffets and things like this at a 50% discount, because they're just restaurants or hotels or businesses here in Bangkok that want to increase their business. So, you know, I can book a hotel lunch buffet, all you can eat, oysters, beef, you know, seafood, everything you want, sashimi, at half the price you would normally pay for it. So I like that app a lot, Eat2Go. I also use Google Docs and Google Drive a lot. And that's one that really helps me to manage my life. And I use Binance because I'm interested in getting into or being part of cryptocurrencies evolution as well. So probably those few apps.
Okay, awesome.
They're a little bit different.
Yeah, you know, I appreciate that. That's really cool. I think sharing the Eat2Go is like something you wouldn't know, but if you were to come to fly into Bali, like download the app called Grab or Gojek.
Oh,
because then you can get it right from the airport and you don't get ripped off like I did.
I didn't say that either, but yeah, I use Grab here as well, and Grab food delivery, and it's a great service as well. So yeah, fantastic.
Which is basically the version of Uber or Lyft in North America. And so if you were flying here to Thailand, you wouldn't think to download that on your phone. But imagine you download that on your phone and you know this one hack. So anyone coming to Bali, I'm going to give you a hack right now. But when you fly in the airport, download Grab on your phone. Don't get a taxi. Walk across the street and there's a station and look for the word Grab, and they will literally give you a taxi ride for even more than half the taxi drivers will charge you out of the airport. And you don't have to worry about, they show you the price right as the destination point. So it's computer done, it's not for human.
Yeah.
So that little hack, these things are so cool for when you're traveling, you just don't know. Nathaniel, what's your most gifted book?
My most gifted book. Yeah, it's a good question. I really like The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I like It's Here Now, Are You by Bhagavan Das. I like Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. I like It's a Life by the Bruce Lee autobiography. I like, yeah, that's enough. Just a few.
Cool. Okay, so let's say you could set up a billboard in the busiest intersection in Bangkok, and it could say either a sentence, 2 sentences, a quote, and it would be a message you wish like so many people could see. What would you put on that billboard?
So if I would be using this billboard also as a way of sort of getting people to know about me and marketing me and who I am and what I'm doing, but I also wanted to be relevant to other people, maybe I would use the quote by TKV Desikachar: "The success of yoga does not lie in our ability to perform postures, but in the way it positively changes the way we live our life and our relationships." For me, that's a really key quote and message of yoga and how I believe people should approach and embrace yoga as a means of improving their life and their relationships. So yeah, let's go with that.
That's cool. That's a cool one. I've never heard that before, and I agree with it. um, so what's in the last 6 months, what's a new habit that you've acquired that's positively impacted your life?
Oh, in the last 6 months? Well, let's say within the last year, I'd say walking outside. And that's an interesting one, but just like going for a walk, like we've been in off and on for the past year and probably for the past year and 2 months here. We've been in like pretty serious lockdowns, in and out of them. And that's been a habit that I've really found has been good for mental health, just sort of putting on my headphones, listening to a podcast or an audio book or even just music, walking outside around the city and doing that. And I think like along with like my meditation, yoga, breathwork practices and everything else, it's just another thing that helps to keep me in a positive and good frame of mind and does something healthy for my body and my energy too. So I think it's just an easy win that everybody can have, is just going for a walk.
Yeah, it's so simple. So actually, interesting thing about my place right now. I don't know if the dog situation's hectic in Bangkok, but I don't know if you remember here, but some areas in Bali, the dog situation's a little hectic. And you're trying to get that
Yeah.
peaceful walk going on, and then also you got these guys barking at your legs and stuff. It's just, so what we do is we actually just do laps around the pool. We just walk around the
Right.
pool
Right.
to get the movement.
Yeah, personally for me, the we call them soy dogs because like in Thailand, the Thai word for small street is soy, so we call them soy dogs. So the soy dogs don't really bother me, but you have to sometimes sort of be a bit alpha to them and show them who's the
Sure.
boss. And I've heard from some girls or some guys who didn't know how to approach the dogs that they can be a bit aggressive, but yeah, they don't really bother me, but that can be a thing here too.
Oh yeah, you 100% gotta show your Alf here. That's
Yeah.
that's one of the things. But like when I'm coming down from a high frequency work mode, it's like the last thing I want to hear is a loud bark in my brain. So I just say, you know
Yeah.
what, I can keep alphing these guys, but some of them just don't shut up. So it's like I'll just keep the peace.
Yeah, there's a lot of them in Bangkok, depending on the areas you go to. And I guess I kind of live in a more affluent area. So I'm probably lucky here that we don't have as many soy dogs around, but there are still some.
Yeah, because like Bali's by the sounds of it, Bali's quite a bit smaller. So there's like alleys everywhere. So there's soy dogs
Yeah.
literally everywhere here.
Yeah.
Okay, so final question.
Yep.
What's something that 5 years ago, or maybe say before your yoga journey, that you believed to be true that you no longer believe anymore?
Oh yeah. So before my yoga journey, yeah, like I guess let me think specifically. Some of like the yoga beliefs, like the the sort of yamas and niyamas, like the things that some of the practices that like traditional yoga or yoga history and philosophy says you have to follow or do in order to experience the state of yoga. I'm not going to get specific right now, but some of those things, it's just bullshit. They, they can be helpful guides, but like the main thing is just really following the practices of the physical, the energetic, and the mental practices, or yoga, the physical yoga, the breathwork, the meditation, and then just being honest with yourself about how other areas of your life are impacting you negatively or positively. But you don't have to. So the main thing for anyone who's listening who, is confused about what you have to believe with yoga and what you don't have to believe, like you just figure it out for yourself and like read what you read and learn what you learn, and then decide for yourself, listening to your inner truth, because like the whole purpose of the yoga is like how you use and benefit the practices in order to create the harmony in your body, your mind, and your energy. And that is not based on doing what someone 1,000 years said you have to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that within my personal practice as well. It's like, well, like we're abiding by some of these things, and like when these things were discovered, our planet was a lot different. And
Yep.
so it's like, oh, well, we just do that because that's what we do. And that's what the centuries before did. And so I think that there's merit to the traditions, and I think they were discovered, and there's still human elements that go beyond time. There's timeless truths, but there is also, like, we live with social media. Social media was never discovered before. We're living in a technologically advanced society. So just a lot of things are different now. So about trying to like morph that. And so I'm also dreaming about a modern day ashram for guys like you and I. Like, what does that place look like? You know what I mean? That where you can go hang out at. Say that again, sorry.
I think it looks like Nirvana Strength.
I know, man. I know. And they brought in yoga there now too, and meditation.
Yeah, I saw that. That's awesome. I knew they'd get to that at some point too, so that's awesome.
Yeah, there's some evolutions happening. It's super cool to be a part of. So
yeah.
Nathaniel, I just want to thank you, man, for coming on and sharing your truth and sharing everything that you've experienced. I mean, not everything, because there's obviously a lot more, but sharing a bit of your piece. So if people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
Just hit me up on Instagram or Facebook first, and then if you want to chat somewhere different, we can go to Telegram or Signal or WhatsApp or something. But reach out on Instagram or Facebook, or I'm guessing most people use one of those nowadays.
And your full name is, how would they find you?
My full name for social media is Nathaniel Simha. Simha is not my real last name. That's just a social media last name, which means lion in Sanskrit.
Oh, that's cool.
So I just chose. I actually chose that because when I started living in Thailand, I was working illegally, and I didn't want Thai immigration to know who I was. So
that's a good idea.
So Nathaniel, Nathaniel Simha, Simha. Just find me on Facebook or Instagram, and we'll go from there.
Amazing, brother. Well, yoga for modern men. We need that help, and I appreciate it. I just again want to acknowledge you for the work you're doing, for the support you're giving men, and also giving support to men from a masculine frame. I think that that's also really important. I feel that you have a heart, but you also got that lion in you. And I think that combo is a really good combo to be a leader and a leader of men. So I appreciate you.
Thank you,
and
man.
yeah, thank you for taking the time and doing this with me, man. This was awesome.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Matt. You seem like a really cool guy, and I can't wait to connect in Bali someday soon.
All right, my man. All right. So for next time, this was another episode of Inside Mentors Minds. Take care, everyone. Done.